Some of you have never heard of it, so check out this hour of rides where we have the first in-depth look at the premier U.S. drifting competition. It's the motorsport that's taking the world by storm. We'll be there as a drifting car is refabricated from the wheels up, soon ready to do battle in the D1 Grand Prix, one of the biggest drifting arenas on the scene today. So get ready to burn a whole lot of rubber, because we're going to do some sliding, some spinning, and some drifting on rides. It's drifting, and after 15 years of thrilling Japan, it's finally in the U.S.
I love drifting! Yeah!
It's great racing. It's exciting. It's everything that Americans like. Lots of smoke, lots of horsepower.
The energy of watching people burn tires blowing up.
This is like 15 minutes of drifting right here. On a good tire, it's gone. A good $200 tire.
This is the X Games of the automotive world.
Drifting is a form of motorsports that is kind of ballet on asphalt.
With winners determined not by a finish line, but by scores from Olympic-style judges, drifting is a competition of polished moves and expert driving.
Drifting itself is a sport where you go off driver style and finesse. It's more of an extreme sport than an actual motorsport.
Drifting cars run on a series of twisting and turning courses.
Burning up rubber and hopefully get paid for it. Can it be better?
The drivers are rated and graded by their moves. In other words, it's not about making a car fast, it's really about making a car dance. For many, it's the evolution of the most thrilling motorsport moments, minus the race.
It was real good. I don't think I'm going to chase that guy.
You take the cars and you take a high horsepower rear-wheel drive import car, turbocharged, limited slip differential, very modified. Take that car, set it into a graceful drift sideways as the wheels slowly lose grip and traction, but yet remain in control all at the same time. It's really an art form.
Japanese drifting is a hit, and now America has caught the drift.
Look at this. Just the crowds, they got tire in their face, and people were like, I could see the lights blazing, and people were like monkeys or something, and I was like, hypes you up to drive, too. It just hypes you up, feeding off their energy.
Asian racers first developed these moves to avoid spills and pull out of precarious turns. Before long, the moves became cool enough and controlled enough to become their own sport. Becoming a champion drifter has got to be a cool thing. But before you can get there, you got to build a car. At Reese Millen Racing, the crew has teamed up with Pontiac and GM. Together, they're building a drifting car to compete in the upcoming D1 Grand Prix. This will be the first full American season for the Japan-based Grand Prix, and this will be the first American-built car in the event. And the driver, from his native New Zealand to his home in Southern California, Reese Millen is known as a rally pro who's always on the cutting edge when it comes to fast cars and how to drive them.
This is the new 2004 GTO. We received both the race car that we're prepping now and this production vehicle 3 weeks ago. They rolled in here as prototype vehicles essentially, but the full car that the consumer will get for the street. The production vehicle has all the elements that I require as a driver and the team requires to build a competitive car. You got a great engine with the LS1 engine, the 5.7 litre V8. The rear suspension now is independent, so you've gone away from the solid axle. The steering lock is more than satisfactory for a turning radius, and it's a pretty stout car to start with. So it has all the elements that I believe to build a competitive drift car. You can't just put a little button here. Just to do a nice little button here.
On a standard drifting car, a few things are essential: rear-wheel drive, custom suspension, a limited slip differential, manual transmission, and a handbrake. The good news is that this car will have everything it needs. The bad news, it all has to be done in 2 weeks.
This is the whole rear subframe that's going in the car, so we're just doing the final assembly right now. Just get ready to get it fitted back into the car. We just changed a lot of the suspension setup as far as the shocks and springs and ride heights.
One of the key areas that we wanted to modify was shaving some weight. Obviously with drifting you have the weight of the vehicle sweeping to the left and to the right, so you want to minimize that mass. We're able to achieve a weight about 800 to 900 pounds less than the factory weight.
We're using a 5-gallon tank instead of the big one, what I was doing earlier. The gas weighs 7 pounds a gallon. So this thing is going to be a 5-gallon. So each time he comes in, they're going to have to keep it topped off. Otherwise, he is going to run out of fuel.
Samuel should sit out, try out the seating position. I think you might fit in there quite nice.
You get sick.
If this guy's any good at what he's supposed to do, he might drive my second car, so.
Former Volvo test driver Samuel Hubinett has taught racing and stunt work from his native Sweden to Tustin, California. And now he's eager to test his hand at competitive drifting, provided he can find a team who needs a driver. At the moment, he's something of a free agent, checking out the U.S. drift cars like this still evolving GTO of his friend Reese Millen.
Gotta grow some arms.
What? I grew up on ice in northern Sweden, so it was a natural thing there, going sideways. So it's been always something I've been doing. So I love doing it.
So how do you classify a professional driver or a professional drifter?
Driver or drifter?
Yeah, either or.
If you get paid to do it, then you're a professional.
So you think if you drive for me, I'm going to pay you?
You better.
With a number of ways to pull off certain drifting maneuvers, a good drift car is built to accommodate the style of the driver. But in this case, the clock is an issue, and it's going to be a challenge to customize and personalize the car this quickly.
Everything arrived yesterday. We got our wheels, we got our tires, we got the brakes, and we're like a week behind to go testing. We're trying to make it testing this weekend, Saturday. Today's Wednesday. We still don't even have an engine yet.
While most car guys are thrilled by the arrival of drifting, there are dudes like Frank Brown who just don't quite get it yet.
I don't see any sense in burning up a set of brand new tyre and going around in circles.
Well, if that doesn't excite Frank, maybe he'll be a bit more positive about the new present that's just arriving thanks to General Motors.
Dyno this morning for 470 horsepower. And all it did is just make a few adjustments from GM Racing. Sent us heads and cam, and that's it.
Don't think too much, just put it in and start it up.
It's the header's got to go on it first. Has somebody got an ECU for this thing?
As one of the first American-built drifting cars, this GTO is bound for a major shakedown once the team gets it together and sees it out in an actual, full-throttled drifting competition.
You're stuck, Reese.
No, I'm thinking.
Pull him out.
It's a great thinking position.
We don't like that position.
GM isn't the only American car company with its eye on drifting, and that kind of involvement can only mean one thing. At the moment, the big guns with the big bucks have decided that this Japanese invention isn't a mere fad. It's a certified motorsport.
Comes up through the boot.
Okay? Think you can do it? Alright, bring it down. You're good. Down.
With only 2 weeks to complete the car, they don't want to hit a single snag. But of course, you don't always get what you want.
Right now the radiator's actually thicker than this bracket is allowing it to be, so either we completely take these off and remount it in a different way, or try bending these around and seeing if those will work. We're just gonna have to kind of mess around with it and see what it takes.
Need another week. Our biggest challenge to date has been time. This is not anything that General Motors has put tension on me. It's something that I've accepted. We wanted to be the first US domestic manufacturer to enter a D1 event.
If I throw it at the car, it should run. But it probably won't. I am sorting out a nightmare.
Team Millen better sort out that nightmare, because they have bigger troubles than tangled wiring harnesses. A couple competitors have just arrived from Japan, and unlike the GTO, these rides have two things to brag about. The cars have both drifted before, and won before. While it all looks like fun and games, it's almost surreal to discover that there is often a calculated method to this madness, a series of plans that makes it only seem totally improvised.
We got 6 cars on the track and they're going like this and doing other things. You'll actually find out they're going to write a little play, like basketball plays. We'll actually have plays they'll have on their dash, and the guys will give signs and they'll tell like one play. So it's actually a play that they know what they're going to perform.
When drifting first started in Japan, it evolved thanks to off-road racers, drivers who created wild maneuvers that helped keep small cars from sliding off steep mountains. Once those big moves became legend, they found their way to the street. Before long, drifters organized courses in open areas, places where they could experiment and develop these maneuvers into an organized sport. A sport that featured controlled moves that seemed almost out of control. Today, there's a whole generation of young Japanese drifters.
You have street-based drifting in the mountains. They're called toge. Very windy mountains in Japan. And that's where I'd say about 60 to 70% of the kids are practicing. Then you have the regional events. Once you win a regional event, you get invited to the D1 Grand Prix professional series.
This is Toshi Hayama, and he's not only one of the most knowledgeable experts in the world of drifting, he's also VP at Apex, the international auto parts giant that has its own drifting team. Here at Apex, the arriving team has to check out the car. After all, the Pacific Ocean is a very big pond to cross.
We just received our Japanese car by container last night. We unloaded it, did an engine start testing. Tonight we're going to be dynoing that car to match it to humidity, all the barometric pressures that the U.S. has. Because the car is so fine-tuned that, we could bring it over here, rev it, and it probably won't rev because it's really humid in Japan.
Apex won the last D1 Grand Prix, and this team isn't planning on going back to Japan empty-handed. Not when they're returning home to the very birthplace of drifting.
Drifting is the last motorsport culture from Japan. There's so much history to really back that up. I mean, there's videos from, early 80s of guys with, big hair and, like, pastel-colored clothes, drifting a car.
History aside, one thing's for certain. Apex won't win anything on this trip if they don't get to the dyno and get that imported car hooked up. For the first American Grand Prix, it has to be running perfectly.
One of the main reasons we want to dyno test a car is when a car comes out of the factory, it's set at about 70% so that my grandmother can drive the car and not sue the manufacturer if it blows up. I make sure I take it to the very edge, and so one wrong move and we'll blow it up ourselves. So what we do on the dyno is first we'll take a base run, very loose, to see how the car's doing. We'll find out if there's any leaks, if there's a durability issue with some of the parts or hoses, change all of that. And the next thing is we can, if we have a goal and we're trying to test race fuels, we could say, okay, let's set it for 400 horsepower. Data is absolutely everything for us. We love it. Our neighbors hate it, but, that's how it goes.
So, while things seem to be humming smoothly for Toshi and the team here at Apex, it's safe to say that the gang back at Millen's have a long way to go if they're going to play catch-up. After a day of assembly, it's a whirlwind of fitting, pre-fitting, and more to do than the team can list. And there's no time to create a list, because even though the event is still about a week away, 2 days from now, they're going to fire up the car and take it for a spin. So if it's going to get done at all, it better happen now.
We're backed up a little, but hopefully we'll be able to make our first test this weekend.
It's getting there.
To prep a standard street car that has the right mechanical ability to start with into a full-blown drift car, you're probably looking at a good 2 to 3 months. We've had a guerrilla attack team on here, extra guys coming in and helping us.
Their progress has been amazing, and nobody's writing them off just yet. Still, if this GTO is going to make it to the Grand Prix, these guys had better call home and tell everyone not to wait up. Drifting is truly coming to America. And on one of the pre-event test days here at Irwindale Speedway, cars have come all the way from Japan to compete in the sport's first U.S. D1 Grand Prix.
D1 is huge. D1 is like the Indy 500 of drifting.
The reigning champ from Apex is here, and if the early tests back at the shop are any indication, it seems like this car is still going to be one of the top contenders when the main event gets underway a couple days from now. At this young stage, American drifting is something of a close-knit family from two different countries. For real proof of that, just look at Toshi. He's not only one of the main coordinators for the Apex team, he'll also serve as the lead announcer here at the big event.
I am by no means a professional announcer. I really work off of the energy of the crowd. The reason why I was fortunate enough to be able to do it is because, one, as the cars come down, I've been watching drifting for a long time. I can first do bilingual translation on the spot, simultaneous, and I can also estimate, pretty much all the technical aspects of what's going on and directly translate that to the crowd.
He is our driver. This is Yoichi. He's the champion.
Today is about testing, tuning and perfecting the key parts of a drift car: the suspension, the brakes, and the tires. But remember, once the event is on, it will all depend on the drivers and the cars.
Probably the most popular cars right now in Japan, the icon is the 85 to 87 Toyota Corolla. It's called the AE86. 86 in Japanese is Hachiroku. So you'll see, the diehards call him Hachis or Hachiroku, and it's a cult car. And to be honest with you, the last August exhibition, a 200 horsepower 87 Corolla won the event, beating out $60,000 manufacturer cars. That's the beauty of drifting. You can still, the underdog can win, and it's just so matched to the U.S., mentality of thinking, to where you can just go in and just beat the manufacturers.
As the test day heats up here at Irwindale, more teams arrive, all with two ideas in mind. Step 1, dust off the ride. And step 2, take those drifters out for a spin. Reese and his team did get the last bolts on the GTO, along with a few graphics for the side. And even though it still has a few kinks in its system, it made it to the show on time.
What are you recommending? To stay in a driving suit or? It'd be nice. Driving suit and a helmet. Okay. No problem. Okay.
Saturday morning at 5 a.m. we fired it up and went to take it outside, and the fuel pump seized up. So there was nothing we could do at that time. So on Monday, we ordered a new fuel filter, new pump, and new injectors, cleaned the whole system out and put it back together, and now it seems to be working pretty good.
It might be working pretty good, but will it be enough to go up against finely tuned cars that have drifted their way into victories from one end of Japan to the other? The answer to that question simply remains to be seen.
Well, it's the first time, so now we've got an issue with the front steering that we need to change the front spindles to, it's testing, that's why you do this.
They're having trouble with their custom steering rig, but steering isn't the only thing they'll be testing here today, so the team has to address that problem before they can test the rest of the car. The solution? Put the factory steering back on the goat.
The platforms are the same. Bring on your, game face. Let's do it on the track. And if Reese can do it, props to him. Seriously.
And now there will be a Swedish driver ready for the drift, behind the wheel of a Jasper Performance Supra, once owned by Reese Millen.
Finally, I'm in the car. The road seems like it's pitching when you're whipping it. Are you feeling it? I'm happy.
Reese continues to have problems. After another trip around the track, there's still an issue with the steering, but they're determined to fix this thing one way or another. In motorsports, traction is critical. You can't win the race unless your tires stay connected to the asphalt. In drifting, traction is also critical, but for opposite reasons. To drift, the tires have to lose traction or break off from the track. But how and when the tires break off is key. In other words, drifting is controlling the car while it's in a no-control zone.
モーションを起こさないようにモーション維持で入ってるっていう。
The main thing is that he already knows that the surface becomes slippery on the repaved area. So when he comes around, he makes sure he doesn't put extra accelerator, extra gas on it, and he makes sure that he doesn't add extra motion to the car. He'll let the momentum push him right through, and then he'll handle it accordingly.
For those of you who plan on drifting, just remember this. You might be filling your tank with less frequency than you're changing your tires.
This is like 15 minutes of drifting right here. On a good tire, it's gone. A good $200 tire. Tire companies love this. They love drifting.
That turn right there separates the man from the boys.
Yeah,
I mean, like I said, here I can do it.
Yeah, you think you could do it yourself. I mean, you're riding in it, and what's even crazier is when you have the twin drifting. Imagine two cars coming around the bank at 100 miles an hour, and it's it's like dogfighting. It's like, how close can you get to the other car? Come on, man, get out of the way.
Yeah. So we're going to go up and rear spring rate, and then I think we'll probably have to go up and rear, and front spring rate, have to go up and rear spring rate now as well. And now we'll put the increased steering knuckles on there, which will help even more.
Oh yeah, you can put them back again.
So we're putting back now because we thought that was the issue.
Yeah.
It's essentially we're going to be back to where we were when we arrived here.
Yeah.
How unique is this new sport? Well, a cop who's seen it all wants to know what it's like to go drifting.
Good. Okay. No reason.
Where's my motorcycle? Kept hitting my helmet on the bar inside. It was real good. I don't think I'm going to chase that guy.
While that might be a laughing matter, nobody has the giggles over at Team Millen, where the GTO's luck is going from bad to worse.
Unfortunately, it looks like we may have suffered a engine malfunction due to unknowns. You're slipping and sliding at these constant slip angles at 90, 100 mile an hour. You're gonna learn something. We're, I believe, comfortably a day and a half away from when we can get out here again for our next scheduled test session. So it'll be remarkable if we make it. If not, I think we'll make the program. We've already pre-qualified from my top 16 qualifying last year. So we're definitely in for Saturday. We'll just have to see what we can pull off in the next 2.5 days.
So as the test day ends, guesses are already being made.
Oh, that's been a good day.
Guesses about who's going to win and who's going to lose. The countdown begins. The big event starts 24 hours from now, and the media is here, taking in the sights and sounds of drifting. Today is the final qualifying day, but tomorrow is D-Day for the D1 Grand Prix. And with drifting making the news, it's no wonder that the press gets their own time with the cars and drivers, to photograph, to write about, to explain to the U.S. that Japanese drifting has now arrived.
The drivers right now are working on the cars. The cars basically came over from Japan already pre-tuned and set up, but over here they like from the shipment and in the containers overseas to APC, they have to do last minute little tweaks and little setup things to the suspension and add extra stickers and things that need to be done, and then it's going to be out and shakedown and practice and good things like that.
As for that first American entry, Reese Millen and his team are ready with their GTO drift car. Ready, but it's safe to say just barely.
Tuesday they came out for testing, made a few runs, blew up the motor, got back to the shop. We worked till about 11:30 that night, pulling motors out and getting ready to get them over to the engine builder. Got the engine back from the engine builder yesterday about 5 in the afternoon or so, and basically pulled an all-nighter just to get the car out here.
Once the event starts tomorrow, 30 cars will be running a drifting course, a twisting and turning set of moves that will be rated by the 3 judges. The vehicles burn 110 octane, a fuel that makes sense for the kind of engines that run in drifting cars.
Burns cleaner, burns hotter, lets the car get a little bit more horsepower out of it. How much does it cost? $5.50 a gallon.
The dudes from Team Orange aren't the only ones who are excited. Sam's pretty sure that when the lineup is called, he'll make the grade.
I feel pretty comfortable. I've been driving the car now two days. My first time was on Tuesday. We did some practicing last night on Thursday. And I got plenty of horsepower, so I can do a big smoke show on third gear. And as long as the car holds up and nothing happens, I think I will be able to qualify.
And with mere hours left before the stands are filled, it's time to take the cars out to show the press what drifting is all about. Before long, it's the first casualty of the day, as one of the guys from Team Orange finds out that his drifter runs a little hotter than allowed by the laws of both physics and the state of California.
Probably one of the most exciting things about drifting is there's really only 4 rules. There's no classes to say, there's one class. The rules are based on unibody construction, rear-wheel drive platform, 6-point roll cage, and DOT-approved tires. Outside of that, it really lends a lot to the creativity of the team, the engineers, the designers, to come up with a format under those 4 basic rules that is going to be the ultimate drift machine.
Given more time and tuning, this GTO just might be the ultimate drift machine. Once 4 key factors come together in the car: horsepower, weight, tire grip, and braking. At the moment, the GTO team has yet to get the right combination of these elements.
I see what you don't know.
No, it's got the power to overcome the... I adjusted the front rather than doing the rear.
How far did you go?
I went from 0 to 6, and then I went from 6 to 12. So I'm just about full soft on the front now, and I still have the grip in the back, but I can overdrive the grip now.
And while things just might be looking up for the GTO, the Apex team is somehow looking less lucky.
The tie rod snap. It's coming around the bank. Good smoke, good angle, and it just stayed like that. Sucks. This is our Japanese car. It's like, just because you won before doesn't mean things are gonna go well. So now this just ruined my night. I had 2 hours of sleep last night. Now we're gonna take the car back to our office, put it back together, hopefully. I don't even know if we can get it off the track, but we'll try.
So, with this qualifying day reaching its final hours, the main course of the D1 Grand Prix is just around the corner. When morning comes, those stands will be filled with over 10,000 drifting fans, along with dozens of car teams that will quickly be boiled down to 16, and then to 1. It's showtime in Irwindale, California, as the D1 Grand Prix welcomes over 10,000 fans to the nation's first edition of Japan's premier drifting competition. A few of the young pro drifters are old hands at warming up the crowd. So when it's time to get things cooking, it's guys like the wild Tarzan that you send out onto the stage. Within seconds, you've got yourself some stands filled with party people. And even before a single run is underway, it's clear that anything and everything goes here today. All those beautiful girls are known as race queens, and they're a big part of the whole drifting scene. Many of these stunners have their own set of fans, both here and, of course, in Japan.
It's game day today. We were up all night. We finished both cars, fixed the tie rod on the Japanese car, stayed up till about 2 in the morning, got up at 5, brought it down. The U.S. car is on its way up right now because we only had one trailer, but everything's looking pretty good. The driver's pretty pumped.
Reese Millen is feeling pretty good, having a bit more confidence in his brand new GTO drifting car.
For 2004 D1, this year's event, it's a points-paying series for the Japanese. So last year they put on more of an exhibition. This year they're coming guns loaded.
Japanese tour. Japanese tour.
All the keys, all the drivers, we're going into round 1!
The drifting cars is a really good example of using the car as an extension of your body. You can swing it around at will, and you know the limits of the car. And it really is communication between the race team and the driver. Where else can you see, $50,000, $60,000, late model imports with, your aftermarket turbochargers, body kits, slamming into the wall, and people, clapping and cheering, and the drivers are such good sports about it.
Waiting in line for 4 hours this morning, absolutely worth it. So, it's an awesome time.
Judges grant points in categories such as entry angle, smoke, and entry speed. And in those areas, Millen first nails all three. But by the second lap, he hit his angles a little too hot, resulting in something drifters call oversteering. Points are lost, but the competition is young, and at the moment, it's still anyone's game. Judges also rate on something called the line. In this case, on the outside of the turn, the driver tries to slide as close to the wall as he can. To complete this particular line, he then tries to get the nose of his car to kiss the inside of the track, obviously smoking the whole way through. A perfect demonstration of that line is performed by Samuel Hubinet in his souped-up Supra.
I'm stoked. I hope I'll make it for next round. So much fun, so I don't want to go home yet.
The good news so far, both Reese and Sam have made it into the next series of runs.
I considered Samuel my stiffest competition, and I'm stoked for Pontiac and myself to make it to the top 16, and really glad that Samuel's here to join me.
The track's getting colder, so starting to get more grip, so that was a problem for me in the first round, so I'm just going to change a little bit and heat up the tires, do a little burn up before I head out there, so I got the temperature when I get out there. And I'm going to go full, I'm going to go really, really wide, and again try to get close to the wall, and if there's a car in front of me, I'm going to try to get close to him.
Top 16!
Peace!
At D1, what you're going to see is you're going to see 32 car elimination cut down to the best 16. Once you get past the best 16, those are all individual runs. We'll go into twin cars, and it's called tsuiso in Japanese. That means to follow and to chase.
First up at this level, APC's Team Orange, followed by the winning pros from Apex. The Apex car has trouble following, and that's not going to be good when the three judges start adding up the score.
The rear car, it's how close you can get to the front car, and if you can pass them, you win. But if not, it's how close you can get, how much pressure you can give. The front car, it's how far away you can pull away. Now, the judges have driven every kind of drift car out there, so they'll know if the guy's in a Corolla and he can't pull away with horsepower, he'll handicap the high horsepower car in the behind. So there's no, the handicap is built in, and everybody knows that, let's say an RX-7 is faster than a Corolla. But it doesn't matter when you're going in a corner.
Next up, it's Millen's turn to follow, and while he's not as close as he should be, he is hot on the tail of his opponent, pro drifting ace Ryuji Miki.
Now we're going to go dual, 2 and 2. So now I'm going to do like they did, come up here and try to get down a little earlier so I can close them on, otherwise they're going to pass me inside. So I will keep the right line, but they will pass me, and that would make me look bad, even if I keep the right line. So now I have to change my strategy and go a little bit deeper down, a little bit early apex, so they can't pass me.
Samuel soon gets a shot at leading, and his competitor, Drift Master Atsushi Kuroi, does a good job of staying close, mirroring every one of Sam's twists and turns. Team Orange is still in the running, and at the moment, their opponent is doing all it can to hold it together and get through the run. Audience participation is becoming an influence here in American drifting. When a run is almost too close to call, the crowd chants one more time, and if the judges agree, a runoff is put into motion. After the first round of the tandem course, Reese and Samuel are knocked out of the competition. They made it into the top 16, but not into the top 8. So while that's the end of our story, it's hardly the end for Millen and his GTO.
What a great way to wrap up a tough 2 weeks. I came into this competition saying if we could make it to the top 16, and there was another American driver that was going to make it in with me, it'll be Samuel. And he's a very talented driver. And he had a great car. He had my old car. I set it up, and we got some things that we need to work out with this one. And I think that both of us are going to go far in the sport.
For a driver like Millen, it's more about experience than equipment. With the time given, he did the impossible, putting a drifter together in a few days and making it into one of the top brackets. So the real learning will come as the car becomes refined and Reese gets more hours and days behind its wheel.
Unfortunately, I didn't make it to the last 8, but I got 10th place, which means I'm eligible to drift in Japan now. The top 10 are allowed to go to Japan and drift.
Team Orange will be happy to get back to Japan, along with their American friends from APC, optimists like Kevin.
Woo! D1! D1 was hot this year, bigger than last year. APC rocked it. Drift Extreme rocked it. Team Orange rules. We will be back. We brought 7 cars. We did okay. It's been a very long 2 days. We're all tired, and we're ready to go home and check out the damage. Peace.
And who got the big prize? Surprise winner Yasuyuki Kazama in his tricked out 414 horsepower Silvia. And drifting, well, some say it's here to stay, while others have been waiting for it to arrive for a long, long time. The East has now met with the West, and this Japanese import of the sport presently works overtime to break attendance records and keep its young audience both in the stands and on their feet. It's the fastest growing activity in the history of motorsports, and if you're not sure why, just take a look and listen.